All right, let's just jump right in. You ever look at our culture and feel like you're just scrolling through a bunch of bizarre headlines that don't make any sense together? Well, today we're going to try to connect some very strange dots. We're talking massive failures, wild marketing stunts, all to find a kind of hidden wisdom in all that noise.
So, first up, Fire Festival. I mean, you've definitely heard of this one, right? It was supposed to be this legendary, once-in-a-lifetime luxury party on a private island in the Bahamas. They promised supermodels, yachts, the whole nine yards. It basically became a masterclass in how not to throw a festival. And then there's this. A Burger King over in St. Petersburg, Russia, actually released a limited edition burger to honor a performance artist, an artist who is most famous for, well, for nailing his own scrotum to the Red Square in Moscow.
Yeah.
You heard me right. And if that wasn't enough, we've got the hashtag Golden Glow Challenge. This was a totally bizarre, satirical trend that just blew up. The whole idea was that fans, out of some strange devotion, would let celebrities, urinate on them. They even imagined VIP packages for the, quote, full wash experience. Just wild.
Okay, so a failed festival, a really weird burger, and a social media challenge that feels like a total fever dream. I mean, on the surface, what do these things have in common? Absolutely nothing. But what if they're all just symptoms of the same thing? What is the thread that ties all this absurdity together?
So to really connect these dots, we have to look under the hood. We have to look at the engine that powers so much of our culture today, the hype machine. And honestly, there is no better case study for how that machine works and how spectacularly it can break than Fire Festival. The playbook they used was just a masterclass in modern marketing. It's all right here. First, you target wealthy millennials who are desperate for that exclusive Instagrammable moment. Then, the promise, a celebrity experience on Pablo Escobar's private island. And the engine? Get this, over 400 influencers all posting a single blank orange tile at the exact same time. The result was insane. The whole thing sold out in less than 48 hours. But here's the thing. Fire wasn't some isolated incident. This whole pattern of influencer-driven hype has turned huge cultural events, like Coachella, into what some people are now calling the Influencer Olympics. It's become less about the actual experience and more about just proving you were there. So what happens when this perfectly curated, picture-perfect digital fantasy slams head-on into messy, complicated reality? Well, you can probably guess what happens next. Absolute chaos. And this just perfectly shows the disconnect. People paid thousands of dollars for a luxury escape, and they showed up to find FEMA disaster relief tents and mattresses just soaked from the rain. The very same social media that built the hype became the tool of its destruction, as pictures of the grim reality just went viral everywhere. And it happened again, at the super exclusive Revolve Festival. These were invite-only guests, and they were left stranded for hours in the desert heat, waiting for shuttle buses that barely ever showed up. There was no water. One person called it a difficult and unsafe situation. Another said people were almost trampled just trying to get on a bus. It's the same story. Perfect marketing, disastrous reality. Okay, so we've got hype, and we've got chaos. But where do we find any clarity in all this? For that, we're going to turn to a pretty unlikely source of wisdom, a classic character type who always seems to see right through the mess. The almighty Janitor. Now, you've seen this character a million times. They're the person in the background, doing the unglamorous job, who somehow understands what's really going on while everyone else is just caught up in the drama. They're the ones with the real power.
Just think about Mr. Miyagi, right? The humble handyman who was secretly a karate master. Or even in real life, you've got figures like Michael Faraday and Albert Einstein, who made these world-changing discoveries while working in pretty low-status jobs, far away from any spotlight. They were focused on the actual work, not the perception of it. And, a janitor character in a comedy skit about all these bizarre festival trends, he summed it up perfectly. The focus isn't on the substance anymore, the music. It's shifted to the spectacle, to these other kinds of streams. See, this isn't just some fun character from a movie. It's a real-world thing. This trope, it reveals a fundamental truth about where real power and competence actually live, hidden in plain sight. It's one of those things that everybody just kind of knows is true. It's always the secretaries and the assistants who really run the office, right?
They're the ones who handle the logistics, who know how everything actually works. They are the janitors of the entire system.
Which, of course, brings up a really interesting question. In our world today, a world that's so digital and complex, what does the modern almighty janitor even look like? What's the unseen force that's quietly cleaning up all of our messes?
Well, the modern janitor might not carry a broom. Just take a look at this workflow. This belongs to an AI coding agent. It just works quietly in the background. It reads a problem, it writes a solution, it tests its own work, and it even fixes its own mistakes before it hands in the final product. I mean, that is the ultimate janitorial process. Find the mess and silently clean it up. And that right there is the key. This tool has all the janitor's most important traits. It works unseen, in the background, just methodically turning these complex, chaotic problems into clean, working order. It doesn't need hype, it doesn't need a spotlight, it just does the work.
So let's bring this all home. We've seen the hype, we've seen the disastrous reality, and we've met this quiet, competent janitor archetype. So what's the big takeaway from all of this?
All of it. The influencer festivals, the shock value marketing, the weird social media challenges, they're all part of that same chaotic stream the janitor was talking about. They all prioritize perception over substance, appearance over reality, and hype over actual function. And that really brings us to the core wisdom of our almighty janitor. Before you go chasing enlightenment or the next viral trend or that perfect Instagram post, there's a really simple, grounding idea. Just clean up your own mess. Focus on the real, tangible work right in front of you. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Look around your own life, your job, your community. Who are the overlooked people, or maybe the unseen systems that are quietly making everything work? And maybe more importantly, who are the janitors that are bringing order to your own chaos?